Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Tate, you know why I have this up today? Number one.
Happy Halloween.
And
Eve.
By the way, who's this guy you got with you this week?
It's Captain Green. Wave. We've been out up on Old Hickory Lake this weekend.
So Halloween is we got great decorations here.
Brought him in for the Halloween show.
Thank you to Mr. Producer and the crew. What's the other reason I have this up? I really hate to admit the second reason.
Well, I hate it, but I think it might have something to do with last week's picks, maybe.
R.I.P. my season.
Well, there's still the playoffs. It's tough.
Well, what I have to do now.
It's always basketball. That's why I used to tell qualls all the time.
I have to
it's
decide.
Always basketball season.
I have to decide. Am I going to try to beat you, which means I've got to go out on a limb on some picks, or
do you pick your picks?
Well, or just try to finish second.
Where are the? Well, why don't you give the standings first, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So you're first, 57. It's interesting you want to push this up in the program this week. 57-10 for the year. You were 7-0. The fans are 3 games back. They're 54-17. They were 3-4.
A lot of movement.
A lot of movement. I slipped to 52-15, so I'm 5 games behind. And Qualls is 50-17. He's last.
He's Tombstone City.
He's been Tombstone City for a couple weeks, so we'll see when we get to that.
You might need the pipe.
Tate, it was a big week in football, but let me tell you, outside football, couple state titles this week.
I'm going to put Captain G
Yep,
down.
yeah, put him. A couple state titles this week, Nolensville and Brentwood. Obviously, Brentwood, this is kind of what they do, 7 straight state championships in volleyball. Nolensville wins their first state championship as a school. They avenged an earlier loss in the week to really a powerhouse, Portland High School. They had won back-to-back state championships. Congratulations to Coach Young and his squad. Lauren Stark, 36 digs in the championship game. Maggie Rickert, good week for the Rickerts, by the way.
I'm assuming that's the little sister?
Has to be.
Got to be, yeah.
18 kills, and then Avery Young was the championship MVP with 13 kills, 21 digs. Talk about Nolensville, how they're just on the rise as a school.
Well, 4 years, okay? The AAA champions in volleyball. We are queens of champion, kings, queens of volleyball in the state. There's only AAA and AAA. We won them both. We don't have a private school team in the Williamson County school systems, so we couldn't win those tournaments, or we probably would. But it's unbelievable what they've done, and so I think Coach Young would say, one, you got to give some credit to Coach Sarmiento, who was the first volleyball coach there.
Right.
And then Coach Young comes in first year. Now he's not a first year volleyball coach.
Right.
He's the first year head coach, and obviously those young ladies play hard for him, and so it's unbelievable what they've done in all sports. And then here's the coolest thing about that, by the way, Avery Young, that's his daughter. She's a sophomore.
No seniors.
Not one senior.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. And I think outside of probably Coach Young and the Nolensville Knight faithful, I don't think a whole lot of people gave them much of a chance to beat Portland. I mean, I don't want to take away from it, but definitely an upset, man. I mean, Portland's good.
And I'm going to be honest. So and what do I know about volleyball? But I'm watching.
Brentwood and Nolensville.
I know they're both good. I watched Portland also play Anderson County earlier in the week.
Do you know what their mascot is?
Anderson County?
Yeah.
The Indians?
Mavericks.
Oh, I just guessed.
It's pretty cool.
Anderson County in Kentucky might be the Indians.
Possibly.
Don't look it up, though.
No. Mr. Producer can.
So when I watch, I'm thinking, it's probably going to be Portland, Anderson County. Obviously, Nolensville took care of Anderson County and Portland. And when they got it rolling, in fact, they could have won in 3 straight sets. They were 24-20 in the first set. Portland comes back to win, so you're thinking, okay, Portland's got the experience. They're going to take care of business, but no.
Nope.
Nolensville comes through.
It's huge, man, and you kind of saw it coming all year long, and then they got beat on Wednesday by Portland, but then battled through and made it back to the championship game, and so very, very neat. I tell you what's going to be fun now, come Wilco's. Well, I guess we do it female sport of the year, right?
Team of the year, that's right. Yeah, what do you do?
The coach that has 15 championships and just won her 7th in a row, or I mean, what Nolensville and Coach Young did is very impressive. So, but again, no seniors, really neat. I don't know if you read his quote. He said a lot of times coaches struggle with looking ahead and what are we going to do next year. But, he knows who he's got coming back. So
expectations will be high, I'm sure.
I would say very high, yes. But you know what? I think they like it that way. And I'm willing to say this. Don't know if they win it again because so many things have to happen, but they'll be back. This isn't a one-year deal. Nolensville, I think, is going to go on a tear here where you can expect to see them in the glass house every year.
Brentwood, Coach Campbell, she wins number 14, the school's 15th.
Amazing.
7 straight, which is obviously a pretty darn big deal. They defeated Houston for the 5th time in 4 sets. Piper Drozic, tournament MVP, and their only senior. So we have 2 state champions with 1 senior total.
1 senior.
55 assists, 11 digs. Shay Eggleston, 20 kills. Mary Oldham, 16 kills. And, it was really impressive because those teams look pretty evenly matched, but Brentwood just has that little something extra. They do.
They don't panic. They've been there, and I think, it's by design, but she schedules a tough schedule every year. Not obviously, out of conference schedule, and they just seem to always win those as well. But they're battle tested by the time they get there, and they don't panic. They expect to win, and it's kind of like I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago on the show, like they used to talk about when Tiger was in the red, and on Sundays, man, people would fall apart, and I think that's. I'm not trying to be cliche. I think that's part of what happens with them is, oh no, here we go again. And there's no quit in them. And 7 in a row, that's
incredible.
And I think it's great that Piper was the championship MVP. The lone senior, pretty neat.
And Ravenwood, they had a good tournament. They finished in the top 4, had a big comeback win. They were down 13-6, I forget the opponent, in the 5th set and came back to stay alive, ended up finishing the top 4. So congratulations to them as well. And one last thing before we move on to soccer, cross country, and then football. I think with Coach Campbell, it's like a victim of your own success in a lot of ways. People just assume they're going to be good, and they are, but I really don't think she gets enough credit. I don't. Everybody talks about the talent. They've got talent, but a lot of talented teams don't win.
No, that's right. You can. I tell you what, come in here and you take this thing over and see how it goes. No.
When she retires, let's see who wants to replace her.
I will say this. You can tell by Twitter and you can tell by when you talk to them, she gets plenty of credit from those other head coaches in her building. Coach Crawford couldn't be a bigger fan. And I think she does in the coaching community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that's not why she does it.
No, of course not. No, she's great. She's easy to get along with. She's easy to root for. She really is.
That's right. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Those girls are competitors, man. So they're fun to watch, man. It's one of my favorite sports to watch when you have 2 good teams.
It's a lot of fun.
It is high octane.
So after 2 sports, Williamson County with 3 state titles. Pretty good start.
3 different schools.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We're going to have some more chances too. Speaking of which, soccer, the same 3 teams that qualified for volleyball have also qualified for soccer. Brentwood, Nolensville, and Ravenwood. And did you see where they backed it up a week because of the weather?
Yes.
Supposed to play this week, but they've moved it. So we will be talking about that.
Have you ever seen that?
Week.
I think that's impressive.
I haven't seen it. Cross country, region champions, Franklin boys, Brentwood girls, Fairview boys. They'll be out at Steeplechase this weekend.
Easy trip.
So I'll be looking forward to that. All right, let's talk football. Game recaps. The WCTV game of the week, it didn't disappoint. 25-23, Franklin with the win over Nolensville. Let's take a look before we talk more specifically about the WCTV play of the week.
Rebels defense answering the bell.
So 3rd down and 11. Can the Rebels hold right here? Gallardi again picked off by Guy Lipscomb.
There he is.
He's got smooth sailing to the end zone. Pick 6 for number 2, the senior Guy Lipscomb.
Well, Michael, you couldn't have drawn it up any better than that if you're Franklin Guy Lipscomb. As we see here on the replay, Michael, Gallardi had 1 read and 1 read only, and Lipscomb in the center of the field just stayed home in his zone, and a little frustration there by Kutris, knowing that might not have been the spot to throw that ball, and Lipscomb crossing the finish line, showing us why.
Well, Guy Lipscomb always making plays both sides of the ball, so no surprise there. Obviously, I think that looked to me like that's something they had worked on, seen on film. He jumped that, and my man Ryder Ghilardi just didn't see it, made the catch, took it to the house. But what a two-way player he is. But you're right, that game didn't disappoint. Came down to a 2-point conversion to tie it. And, no shame. I know Nolensville wanted to win that game, but no shame there. But, back to the play of the week, Guy's just a guy, no pun intended. He makes plays.
He does. I saw something like he was involved in 70% of their plays, 32 carries, 124 yards, 4 for 4 passing in not great conditions, and a pick 6. He has to be considered in that Player of the Year. He has to be. I know Franklin's only 4 and 5.
It doesn't matter.
But where would they be without him?
That's right. That's right. He would be if I have a vote. He's in that conversation without a doubt. And you know what, man? That's the other thing too. I think there's positives on both sides, but for the it's very obvious that those kids are still playing hard, and Coach Webb and his staff, they're playing hard for Coach Webb and his staff, and Coach Webb and his staff are still coaching hard. And here's the thing, man. If they win, they're in the playoffs. All
That's right.
And I think they could win a game or two.
I do
so
too.
I'm really happy for the Rebels. You hate to see it for Nolensville, but they were undefeated going in that. But again, I guess what I'm trying to say is that doesn't happen if he had lost those kids.
Right.
You agree?
I definitely agree. Ghilardi to Kutris, his time expired, and then they had to go for 2, obviously, to try to tie the game. Cooper Giles knocks the pass away. That's 3 games that Franklin has had down to the last.
I know.
Here it is.
I know.
3 games, 2 and 1 in those games.
Hey, I love to shout out my kickers. Ian Burr,
I was going to mention Ian. Go ahead.
3 for 3 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. How many points did they win by? 2 points.
And I don't know if you saw this.
37.5 yards punting average.
Our man Samson Johnson, who
Yes.
scored a touchdown, he was going to return a kickoff for a touchdown a little bit earlier.
Yes.
And Ian with the TD saving tackle, which Coach Webb talked about. It's like sometimes I got to back Ian off and be like, hold up, Ian, man. I got one kicker.
Back him out on that one.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So that was big. Connor Bevan, starting quarterback, 8 for 13, 86 yards, a touchdown. So, man, there was a lot of cool things about it. And then on the Nolensville side, you mentioned my man Sampson. I went back and did some season stats. He has 8 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving, 9 touchdowns
In
9 games.
still on
That's
pace.
got to be, at least WCS-wise, that's got to be some sort of a record.
It's especially playing on a quality team like he is. It's not like he's playing on a bottom feeder.
That's right.
All right, moving on. Brentwood 31, Knoxville Catholic 13. And we could say this about all these games except the Page game. You mentioned that before we came on, that was a Thursday night game. But the conditions obviously had something to do in these games, not to make an excuse, but Granzow, not a typical game for him.
No.
3 interceptions, only 9 of 24 for 69 yards passing, only 167 yards as a team. Obviously, Knoxville Catholic, a quality opponent, but certainly it wasn't the Bruins' best outing of the year.
Weather didn't do them any favors. I would love to see the stats on how many times Granzow ran the ball. And all you got to do is you look at Ravenwood, you look at Cash, you look at Granzow, you look at Garcia. They didn't have their typical nights. That weather, that had something to do with it.
Obviously.
So, Coach Crawford, I know that they're not happy about the loss. 1, they lost to a really good team, really physical team. 2, I don't know that they, if it's all or nothing, they're going to run Granzow. If they got to run him 20 times, they'll run him 20 times. I'm willing to bet he didn't even run 10 times. Again, no excuse, but that performance wouldn't worry me if I was a Bruins. What we worry about is this upcoming week. So,
gonna be
tell
a
you
great
one
game.
thing that, one plus that came out of it was the 94-yard kickoff return by Walker Merrill against a really good Catholic team.
Centennial 7, Pope John Paul 41. Pope John Paul, in those conditions, did have 400 yards of offense. They jumped out early 20-0, never looked back. Bright spots for Centennial, had 2 backs, Alex Steele, Desmond Smith, both going over 100 yards, but obviously a tough night for Centennial.
Tough night against a team that don't let their record fool you. They're in there in that D2 AAA with Catholic and them, and Pope's pretty good football team. But yeah, I mean, you know,
Maybe their best team.
that Pope's ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
They had a couple good years with Golden Tate was there, but
yeah, he
maybe,
was good. I don't
Maybe
know.
a game over 500.
That's
I mean,
right.
they weren't great as a team.
Exactly. But, you know, and the neat thing about Desmond's playing banged up, you know. And so both of them over 100. I think Desmond had the touchdown, but just a tough loss, you know. But they got a chance to do something really special this week. And that's the thing, you know, their record doesn't so much reflect it, but Centennial's a team that can play spoiler. And they can sure run the ball. So, you know, just it was a rough night all the way around.
Fairview 35, Dixon County
Not for them.
16. Logan Nardozzi had to do a double take on this. 23 carries, 302 yards, 23 for 302.
2 touchdowns.
1,500 yards, over 1,500, and 15 touchdowns on the year.
And he hadn't played, you know.
Does it every week, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah. He's a dude, and this is against a 6A football team now. You know, Dixon County, whatever. I don't remember any of our WCS guys or 6A guys going for 302 against him. So he's a player, man. And then defensively, Jacob Clevenger, that last name sound familiar to you? Jackson's little brother, 5 tackles, 2 sacks. Logan Parsons, 9 tackles. I like this game for Fairview going into the playoffs. 6A team went in there and got after him, and I think Fairview's ready for the playoffs.
5 consecutive wins, looking for 6 this week. Independence 6, Pearl Cone 27. Just a poor start by Independence. They had a 3 and out. Then they have a bad snap, and Pearl Cone only needs 4 yards to score the game's first touchdown. They
Not
get
the way to
another
start.
3 and out, and then Pearl Cone has a long 75-yard drive. They go up 14-0, and in those conditions against that quality opponent, probably over at that point.
Yep, and really good team. They're not undefeated for no reason, and they might be 3A, but they play a tough non-conference or non-region schedule.
And have won the games.
And they're undefeated. They got a win over NBA. You know, they're good. Martino Owens, their quarterback's really good. As we mentioned, uncharacteristic night of cash wouldn't worry me at all. All you can say about that game is that you got to flush that game, move on, man. We got Ravenwood this week.
And I think they will. They did. I mean, a bright spot. I talked about that 75-yard drive in the second drive, and really the first real drive of the game, probably. Only 199 yards for the night for Pearl Cone. So, again, I keep saying it, the Independence defense has improved.
Without a doubt, yeah. And they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs as well. So, like I said, you know, all you can say, no positives,
Yeah.
other than it was a weird night. It wouldn't, you know, and I know it's not worrying Coach Blade. I mean, that game's gone. I'd be surprised if they even watched the film. Seriously.
I wouldn't. I'll ask him when I see him. I'll get a chance to talk to Coach Blade and Coach Daniels.
That's gonna be a good
for the WCTV Game of the Week. What a game that's going to be.
Yes.
Page 44, Lincoln County 7, and you did bring up again before we came on the air, the weather did not impact Cade Walker because they played Thursday.
That's right.
You know, and it's one of those things too, and I'm not saying they've been lucky because they haven't, but in terms of good fortune kind of going their way, to play Thursday night and get that game over with, they get an extra day of rest.
Extra day of rest, extra day of work, getting ready. They dodged the rain. You know, look at, and you know, we talk about him all the time. I think he's can play up there with all of them. But look at what you say. Cash was 9 for 26. Granzows, you know, and then Cade Walker was 11 for 15, 136 yards, 4 touchdowns. So yeah, man, that was a I don't know. That game was at Lincoln County, right? So
at Lincoln County, 37-7
agree
at the
to
half.
it, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
If you're the road team, of course you do, right?
Right. So they're lucky that Lincoln County wanted to move that game up, which I think they just want to end their misery. But Page's a good football team, playing well.
Bubba Johnson and maybe my favorite name, Simons.
Pretty good.
Both with a touchdown run. Till Cheshire 2 TD receptions. Hayes Barrett had 1. Obviously, Page rolled.
Hey, Hayes also had 4 tackles and an interception on defense.
Good night for Hayes all the way around.
He gets the Tim Kuchris of the Night award. You like that? Two-way player?
Yeah, but I don't know if
I know.
the Page guy would like that.
That's right. It was a little joke. Strike that one from the record.
Ravenwood 28, Cane Ridge 15.
Big win.
A big win. Ravenwood too, and really they probably dominated the game more than the score. They had 3 fumbled snaps early. 1 led to a safety, but then they got it together.
Yeah. Well, and all those guys will tell you, because we're watching that because that's who we match up with in playoffs. Cane Ridge is getting better. This was kind of a down year for them at the beginning of the year. They're getting better, and they're starting to look like Cane Ridge of old. So this was a big win for a lot of reasons. And the Ravenwood defense held them to 45 yards.
That's
rushing.
impressive.
I guarantee you that's never happened since Eddie Woods has been the head coach. That is strong, man. 6 QB sacks. And, you know, we talk about it all year. That front 7 now, when they got a bad taste in their mouth or whatever, that's not good for the rest of them. And so that's a good win. Garcia got going after the, again, sloppy conditions. But and that was a run the ball type of night too, and they still held.
Did you see the 3 touchdown passes he had in terms of the yards on those?
I did not.
Okay, get this. Trevor Andrews, 49-yard touchdown
Nice.
pass. Ross Johnson, 59. Andrew Mason, 65 yards. Now, I'm assuming some of those were making a play after the catch, but
Or busted.
still pretty impressive on that kind of night, too, to have plays of that length.
That's right. And the other thing too, that's part of what we love about him. But Garcia's not Cade Granzow size. I'm assuming he doesn't have the biggest hand,
Right.
And so that really affects you in a game like that. But he's still out there throwing darts, man.
Competitor, too.
Well, that goes without saying.
Tony Rice, 11 carries, 134 yards and a touchdown.
Against
Every
a
week.
good defense.
Every week he gets it done.
Yeah, he gets it done.
All right,
Mr. Dependable.
Let's talk about this week's games. We'll start off with the WCTV game of the week. This is a big one. Ravenwood 8-1, 3-1 in the league. Independent 6-1, also 3-1. This one determines second place. And really, if you look ahead a little bit, not only are you hosting that first round game, your second round opponent, if you finish second, is going to be either Cane Ridge or Franklin.
That's right.
Versus going on the road to Brentwood. So it's big for a lot of different reasons.
Big for a lot of different reasons, and they both know it. You want to be. You don't want to be 3. I mean, you want to be in, but yeah, it's you want to be that second place finish if you can.
This week's gym.
Plus, these 2 teams. I mean, it's bragging rights.
It's gym time. Ravenwood. This surprised you a little bit when I told you this.
Stunned.
6 in a row. The last win for Independence was 2011. They had a 31-7 win. That was
There
at
is an
Indy.
asterisk in there, though.
And that is?
They didn't play
Right.
when Independence was in 5A because they went 29-1. Yeah. Okay.
The last win at Ravenwood was 2010, so they won 2 in a row at that point. This has a chance, especially if the conditions are decent, to be a shootout. That's what I'm wanting to see.
I think a lot of people.
Because I'm going to this game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to, and I think it could. I think it is going to be good conditions. No rain or anything. It's going to be a little bit cold, but I think most people think that Ravenwood's the favorite. But I'm telling you now, if Independence offense gets going, they can ball control it with the passing and the running of Cash. And what's the best defense against an offense like Ravenwood? Keep them off the field.
Maybe that's a preview of your pick that's coming up.
Could be.
Nolensville. This could really be the game of the week too, honestly. 8-1,
Got a lot riding on it.
4-0 in the league at Marshall County, 7-2, 4-0. And in terms of winning a championship, it's a bigger game. This is for the region title.
Region championship.
Marshall County, their only 2 losses. Giles County 14-10. And this is the one, to me, if I'm Nolensville, that would scare me a little bit. Shelbyville 36-30. That was obviously a great game.
Yeah, Marshall County's a good team, and they're well coached. They have a plan, and it's a program. And then 2, they've got athletes, so they got speed, and they're battle tested. Yeah, these 2 really know each other well. It's going to be a fun game. This is kind of the last. We got Maplewood, we got that monkey off our back. I think this is the last monkey off the back as far as Nolensville in football goes. But this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a big game.
You hope home field isn't the difference maker.
Right.
Because that one's at Marshall County. Brentwood, you talked about this earlier, Centennial, a chance to be spoiler. Brentwood 7-2, 4-0 in the league. Centennial 3-6, 1-3 in the league. Obviously a win from Centennial could mean the playoffs, but I doubt Franklin's going to lose to Dixon. So here's what I've always thought this was interesting about football. You don't find many sports like this. You can win your last game and not be the champion. That happens in football, right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Am I saying something that's just obvious? But I've always thought that you could leave with the good taste in your mouth. So
Well,
to
it's
speak.
because you're used to basketball,
Right.
tournament sport, you know. But
Never won our last game in my 19 years as a head coach.
come close, though.
Not
Come
close.
close.
enough, Yeah.
That Bearden, geez. Do you still have nightmares about what was
Yeah, I
his
get a
name,
little.
Glover?
Yeah, well.
Well, no, he was a Glover, too. No,
Yes.
God.
Quez. Let's don't talk about
Okay,
that.
sorry.
That is spooky.
Halloween, man. That's your goose.
We got
ghost
Edgar
dog.
Allan Poe and the Ravens in here. Is that what those things are? Is it a blackbird? What is that?
Dark.
All right.
I will say this. I don't think there was a letdown from Brentwood anyways, but after this Catholic game,
Yeah.
that wasn't real great.
What happened the last time Brentwood lost? They lost to Henry County.
They beat a team off Wilson Pike that was, I think, ranked number 1 in the state or
Yeah.
number 2.
So
Not good.
maybe that's bad for Centennial, honestly.
good.
Fairview 7-2, 4-0 in the league versus Stewart County. 6-3, only 2-2 in the league. I don't think the record really says what Stewart. Nothing against Stewart, but they're not.
They haven't played the same schedule.
They've had pretty big losses to Camden and Sycamore, Stewart County, and obviously those were teams that Fairview dominated. So looks like Fairview will have a real good shot to end the season on a 6-game winning streak.
I think well, we'll get to it in the picks. Yeah, well, here's the deal. How are they going to stop them? You know, the only thing that can cost Fairview that game is if they stop themselves. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Franklin 4-5, 1-3 in the league, hosting Dixon County 1-8, 0-4 in the league. We talked about this earlier. Good chance for the Rebels to get a little momentum going. And you know, something I was thinking about with Franklin, and we'll talk about this more when the playoffs come up, but the last time Franklin had that 2-platoon quarterback system, quarterfinals, right, with Wes Patterson and Carter Hendry, you get the sense they're heading that way now. Obviously, now you play Bevan. Who knows, he might go back with Nichols, but Lipscomb is getting some snaps too, so that makes it tough to prepare for Franklin.
Without a doubt, yeah. And we talked about that last week. Now, that's time during your work week that you got to work. You have to work on it, right? And so the time that you're spending on that is time you could be spending on something else. So I agree. And you mentioned that year when they had Hendry and Patterson, 10 wins, I think? And so I know getting that Nolensville win was big for Coach Webb, because if they win the Dixon County game and go in the playoffs, that puts you at 5-5. I just feel like that gives you, or I think he felt like that gives you a better taste.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm telling you now, I think they can beat Cane Ridge.
I do too. I
They
definitely
almost,
do.
we forget because it's been a while. They almost beat Independence. This is, you know, it's a really good fight if they beat Dixon. A really good 5-5 team
When they beat Dixon.
when they beat Dixon.
Page, our final 2 games before we get to our picks. Page 8-1 versus Franklin County 4-5. Don't expect probably much resistance there. And then Old Sparty, after a week off, they travel to Lincoln County. Summit 7-2, Lincoln County 2-7. Now, let's talk pick'ems.
Pick'ems.
We've already talked about the record. Let's get rid of that. You can keep voting, fans. WCS CO Athletics. I will pick the first game. Ravenwood versus Independence. I'm going with Ravenwood. It's going to be a great game.
Going to be a great game. I think that's a good
Ravenwood.
pick. I agree. I'm going to go with Ravenwood as well. I think that front 7, like we mentioned on defense, is just too much. It's too hard to block, man. And I think they're playing with a little bit of an attitude. They look good. I'm going with the Raptors. But I'm a big Ethan Cash fan.
Nolensville at Marshall County.
This one's
You
tough.
got this one first.
This one's tough, man. And I'm not going to go homer here just to go homer. But I feel like this is the year. I think Nolensville's, this group's something special. I think they believe. They got playmakers. They got a good quarterback. And This is the year. I'm going with the Knights.
I'm going.
Region champs.
I'm going Marshall County.
Sweet. I love it.
Nolensville, I was going with you if he picked Marshall County, but I've got to try to at least get back in here a little bit. So I'm going Marshall, you're going
His
Nolensville.
competitive juices are kicking in.
Brentwood at Centennial. I think Centennial puts up more of a fight than maybe some would expect, but I'm going with Brentwood.
Guaranteed they put up a fight, but Brentwood's just too much. Brentwood has to win this game because they want to be first. One, they want to be they are region champs, right? Yeah. No. They want to be region champs. Two, they want to be number 1 seed. Brentwood wins.
I think you can put the hat on for the rest of
Granzow
this.
might be 100 and 100.
Are
we going there?
It is Halloween, so we'll put it on early, your Halloween costume, and I think these 4 games qualify. Tell me if you agree.
Boat race?
Fairview, Stewart County.
Where's the game?
Fairview.
Coach Hughes is in Snappies by 9:15.
Franklin, Dixon County.
Franklin. Boat race. You know, Coach Webb used to have a pontoon boat. Might still have it up on Kentucky Lake. You know, he's from Henry County.
Yes. Page,
He says, hey, Dr. Webb, we're headed to the lake. Boat race.
Page, Franklin County.
I think Franklin County is better than what people think. So if Page doesn't show up, if they think they're just going to show up in their fake Ray-Bans and their boat hat, then they're sadly mistaken.
So are they doing it or not?
No. But I don't think they do that. They're going to show up with the right attitude. This thing, they did beat David Lipscomb. There weren't any dimes dropped when they played them. Page. Boat race.
Summit after a week off at Lincoln County.
This one's boat race for second half.
I thought we might agree on those. Worked out well for the Halloween special.
My man is going to be back in full force. Destin Wade. He's over there eating popcorn with Dr. Qualls by the third quarter.
Tate, as always, great to have you here.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We'll see you next time on Sports Connection.